My beloved child, you feel let down because I have been quiet. However, you are unaware that this very silence is what pushes the roots of your faith much deeper than anything your physical eyes can perceive. You worry that I am taking too long to act, yet you have never witnessed how I silently shift mountains and pave the way ahead of you. Do not be so quick to assume that I have forsaken you. At times I pull back only to instruct you on how to stand on your own, not to leave you to stumble. Long ago, the prophet Elijah escaped into the wilderness, so drained that he cried out, "Lord, it is enough. Please take my life." He believed the Lord was silent, misinterpreting my apparent delay as a sign of being abandoned. But I did not criticize or reprimand him. I simply sent an angel to touch Elijah twice and say, "Get up and eat, for the journey you must go on is still long." There was no grand miracle, no crashing thunder, only a modest meal. Yet from within that quietness, Elijah was strengthened to continue his path. In the same way, there are days when you hear nothing from me, yet you do not realize that I am cultivating a quiet strength within you, enough to carry you across an entire desert you were certain you could not cross. There are seasons in life when you do not require anyone to cheer for you. You only need a small indication that heaven still remembers you. Yet the longer you wait, the more you see nothing but a silence stretched out until it feels suffocating. You assume it is a sign that I have turned my back on you. But in truth, that is when I am placing you into an invisible furnace where silence becomes a mirror revealing the cracks in your soul that you would not normally see. I am not being cruel. I am healing the deepest parts of you in a way that noise could never achieve. There are times when you look back over your life and see only mistakes, dreams not yet realized, prayers not yet answered, and doors not yet opened. You conclude that I have arrived too late. Yet it is precisely in those delays that I am resetting your breathing to match the rhythm of heaven. You only see time slipping through your fingers. I see a person being refined to carry a responsibility far greater than anything you are currently imagining for your future. And then there are days when the pain is so intense that your mind begins to ask, "Is God punishing me?" But you do not realize that what you call loss is often simply me pulling you away from paths whose end is a deep abyss. I do not let you hurt in order to humiliate you. I allow the pain so that you will loosen your grip on the things that are causing your soul to decay. My silence, my slowness, all of it is a carefully measured movement to protect you from what you are not yet clear-sighted enough to see. You still tend to think that when the heavens are silent, it means I have gone far from you and left you to struggle alone with things you cannot even name. But you do not realize that in the very moments when you tremble in the quiet, I am bending closest, listening to each sigh you try to hide behind a calm facade. I hear even the words that never become sound. I see every tear you quickly wipe away when no one is watching. And yet, simply because I do not answer at once, you fear that I no longer care. My child, silence is not a closed door. It is the room into which I lead you so that I may mend the deep fractures you dare not touch. If you will be still inside, you will sense that my silence has never been distance, but the way I hold you in my arms without frightening you. At times, I allow the stillness to last longer than you would like, because I know there are things that cannot be restored in the midst of noise. You wait for a clear affirmation, while I want you to listen again to the beating of your own heart where I have always been. Not moving even half a step away? You think I am late, but you do not see that I am sharpening your faith in the gentlest possible way. I do not want you to trust me only when you receive what you desire. I want you to trust me even when every outward sign seems to say that I have forgotten. One day you will understand this faith is not born when prayers are answered immediately, but when you keep holding my hand, even when you hear nothing at all. In that very moment you grow like a tender shoot, learning to twist its roots toward the true source of life. I know there are nights when you lift your eyes to the sky and ask, "Lord, are you looking at me?" And I still want you to know that I have never taken my eyes off you, not even for a moment. You see silence as a refusal. I see it as a cocoon cradling a soul that is about to grow stronger. Sometimes I keep silent so that you will stop searching for answers outside yourself and begin to look for me in the rhythm of your daily life, where I hide myself in each small piece you usually overlook. I am not punishing you when I am silent. I am healing you at a pace your heart can bear. And one day when you look back, you will see that I upheld you through things you once thought were of no importance. But I also see within you a quiet doubt. You believe you are no longer worthy of my attention. You think you are too weak, too wrong, too broken for me to want to draw near. Yet, my child, I do not see you with human eyes. I see you with the gaze of your Creator, the one who knew you before you were formed. I've never accused you with the harsh words you repeat to yourself each night, nor have I ever measured you by success or failure. I look only at the heart that keeps trying, though it is sometimes covered in scars, and I still call it precious. When you let silence lead you into self-condemnation, you unknowingly forget that I am a father, not a judge. What I am waiting for is not your perfection, but the return of your weary heart. Therefore, when you feel that the heavens are mute, do not shrink back and conclude that I am no longer there. I want you to learn to look beneath the surface of the stillness and see that I am still moving in places your eyes cannot yet reach. Do not run from me when you feel lonely. It is precisely then that I long for you to call my name with all the honesty in your heart. Even if your only words are, "Lord, I am so weak." You do not need to be strong in order to stand before me. You only need to be real. From that honesty, I will lead you out of the fog that is covering your soul. And then you will slowly realize that the feeling of being forgotten is only the shadow of fear, not the reality of my heart toward you. Once you walk through that shadow, everything that follows in your life, time, opportunities, even delays, will be seen with entirely different eyes. You often look back over your years and wonder why everything seems delayed, why you always feel as though you have missed the important trains. When you see others walking quickly while you walk slowly, you assume that I am favoring them and forgetting you. But my child, I have never measured you by anyone else's pace. Every soul I have created has its own rhythm, its own appointed time, its own journey carefully designed so that it does not lose the essence I placed within it. Yet when you fix your eyes on comparison, you fail to notice my hand reshaping your path. You hear the clock urging you on, but it is often in those very moments that I am pulling you back from hurried steps that would leave your soul wounded and raw. I know there have been days when you opened your eyes and already felt at a disadvantage, out of step, no longer able to catch up with those who went ahead of you. You look at your age, at the opportunities that have slipped through your hands, and you sigh quietly, now it's too late. But I want you to understand that I do not operate according to the timeline you see. I am not in a hurry when you are in a hurry, nor do I panic when you are afraid. I work in the deep places of the soul, where time is no longer a chain or a limit. You think the long years that have passed were only an empty stretch, but they have been silently carving out perseverance, humility, and faith. Things that early success rarely has the power to create. When you think you are wandering in circles, in reality, you are walking along the very path I marked out for you beforehand. There are times when you come to pray with a heart weighed down because you feel your life is moving too slowly, and you blame yourself more than you blame me. You ask whether I am still writing anything for your future, or if the pages of your life have already come to an end. But I want you to know that I have never canceled the destiny I began. No closed door has the authority to destroy what I have ordained. You can see only the present, but I see the whole road from start to finish. What you call slow is many times the perfect pace to keep you from receiving things you are not yet ready to carry. My child, the fact that you have not reached the finish line does not mean you have failed. Sometimes it simply shows that you are living within the precise process of my timing. I also see in you a habit that quietly wears down your spirit. You keep comparing yourself to the journey of others. You see them going far while you seem to move only inch by inch, and you conclude that you are inferior or have been left behind. But my child, every comparison blinds you to what I am quietly restoring in you. When your eyes are fixed on someone else's achievements, you no longer see the seeds I am sowing in you each day. The fact that those seeds have not yet blossomed does not mean they are not alive. They are simply waiting for the right climate, the right light, the right moment I have appointed. If you force them to bloom in someone else's season, you will cause the tender petals of your own life to break before they have a chance to tell the story I long to write through you. So, when you feel your heart growing anxious because time keeps passing, I long for you to slow your breathing and look at me instead of looking at the haste of this world. You are not late. You are being held a little longer so that when the door opens, you will step through with a soul strong enough, deep enough, and mature enough to carry what I place in your hands. I do not want you to receive blessings too early before you have roots, because rootless blessings will make you fall faster than you think. Let me lead you according to the rhythm of heaven, a rhythm that is never off by even a second. And then you will realize this: what you once called too late was in fact the delicate preparation for things you never thought you could be worthy to receive. And when you pass beyond your obsession with time, you will begin to see every stumble, every delay, every closed door with new eyes. You will no longer rush to conclude that I am withholding something good from you. Instead, you will begin to understand that I am holding you back from things that do not belong to you. From that awareness, your heart will grow lighter, and you will recognize that I am making a way for you in places your eyes have not yet reached. For when you have learned to trust me in the delays, you will also learn how to trust me in losses, in redirections, in the things you call pain. And that will be the door leading you into a greater truth. Pain is not always punishment. Many times it is the shield I quietly place in front of you. There are days when you look at the broken pieces in front of you and sigh, God must be punishing me. Disappointment seems to come too easily, and joy seems to arrive too late. You watch opportunities fade. Relationships that once looked beautiful begin to crack, and you conclude in silence, maybe God doesn't love me anymore. But my child, I have never used pain to take revenge on you or to push you down. I use it as a mirror so you can see clearly what is weighing your soul down, the things you have been afraid to face. If you are willing to draw near to me, you will discover that what you call unfairness is, at times, the very protection I have quietly prepared just for you. When a door closes, I see you bow your head and blame yourself, blame life, and then blame me. You do not know that sometimes I am the one who places my hand on that door and shuts it before it has the chance to crush you. There are people you thought were right for you, but I could see in advance the pain they might bring into your life. There are places you wanted to go, but I knew you would lose yourself if I let you enter. So I am forced to stop you, even when you cry because you do not understand. You only see that you have lost something you wanted. I see that I am saving you from a wound you would not be able to heal on your own. And one day you will thank me when your heart is quiet enough to recognize that what I withhold is never less than what I am preparing for you. At times I use delays to keep you from dangers that the human eye cannot foresee. Like the time you were angry because you were stuck on the road or missed an appointment you thought was a great opportunity. You were sad, frustrated, blaming yourself for being careless. But you did not realize that sometimes those very moments of being held back are what kept you far from a crisis I did not want you to face. I do not need to perform a visible miracle to protect you. Sometimes a small delay is enough to change the course of a destiny. If you would look at your life from a wider angle, you would see that behind each late arrival, each change of plan, each lost opportunity, there is often a deliberate arrangement I am quietly putting in place. I do not boast when I rescue you. I simply act, then stand and watch you walk on in safety. But I also know your easy habit. You tend to give me the face of those who have wounded you. When someone lets you down, you are afraid I will do the same. When someone walks away, you fear I too will leave you. And when you are in person, you quickly assume that I am punishing you. My child, I am not them. I did not come to strike you down. I came to lift you up from consequences you yourself do not fully understand. If I wanted to punish you, I would have left you to sink deeper into your wrong paths. But no, I pull you back even when you resist, because I know the things you cannot yet see. I love you not because you deserve it, but because you belong to me. And because you belong to me, I will not allow pain to drive you off course. So when your heart is bleeding, I do not demand that you be strong. I only want you to come near and tell me how you truly feel, whether it is fear, anger, or disappointment. I am not offended by those emotions. I am only saddened when you try to hide them and bear everything alone. Let me step into the dark places within you, the places you let no one touch because you think they are too ugly. There I will show you that pain is only the soil being turned over so that I can plant something new. And when you allow me to walk with you, you will understand that pain has never been a full stop. It is only a comma that opens into renewal. From that awareness, you will slowly free yourself from the belief that I am punishing you and begin to see that I am leading you toward a good you have not yet dared to believe you could receive. Then when you have let go of your doubts about my love for you, you will begin to see events unfolding in a very different way. You will see that losses are no longer just losses, but the changing of soil for new seeds of life. You will see that turnings in the road are no longer detours, but precise adjustments to steer you away from the cliffs ahead. And you will see that I am not as far away as you thought. I am right beside you at every step, with every sigh, every time you stand up again. Once you understand the meaning of pain, you will gently realize that not only has pain been misunderstood, you have also misjudged your worth, and that will be the bridge that leads you to the next truth. You are not a flawed product of your past. You are being reshaped in the hands of a deeply patient potter. There are days when you look back at yourself and see only old scratches that have not yet healed. You remember wrong decisions, trust given to the wrong people, falls that fill you with shame whenever you recall them. Then you conclude that you deserve this, as if every mistake has turned you into someone who no longer has any value before me. But my child, I have never looked at you with the eyes you use to look at yourself. You see only a past full of fragments. I see a soul waiting to be made whole. I am not standing there to accuse you. I am standing there to pull you away from the harsh voice you repeat over and over in your own mind. If you would be still for a while, you would hear that my words are far gentler than the judgment you keep placing on yourself. When you blame yourself for what is past, I see you like a person standing before an old mirror, seeing only a distorted image of yourself and not realizing that it is the mirror that needs to be replaced, not your heart. The more you repeat, I deserve this, the greater the distance becomes between you and the restoration I have for you. You think I keep your failures in constant remembrance, but I have already placed them so far away that you are the only one still holding on to them. You call yourself by names I have never used. Foolish, weak, worthless, getting what you deserve. Those words do not come from me. They come from the fear of being hurt again. You are using the past like a lock to chain yourself, while I long to remove it so you can step into a future shaped by my hands. You need only to relax your grip a little, and I will show you the new mirror I am holding out, where you are seen through the eyes of a father, not a judge. I want you to remember that you are only clay and I am the potter. No one looks at the clay and calls it useless. They only look at the hands that shape it. You are not yet your final form. You are in the middle of the process, and the process always includes being pressed again, adjusted, even broken so that you can be remade better. You thought the shaking in your life was punishment, but in reality, it is how I carefully reshape the parts that have drifted from my original intention. You are not abandoned in the furnace. You are placed there so you may become firm and strong. The vessel can never mold itself. It must allow the potter to touch it, turn it, adjust it, and sometimes hurt it a little so that it may become more beautiful. If you will let me work, you will come to understand that you are not broken beyond repair. You are being renewed little by little. I know you are tired of pretending you are fine, of trying to use your achievements to compensate for your deepest insecurity. You chase after the expectations of others, hoping that one day they will approve of you and your pain will disappear on its own. But my child, human hearts cannot be your place of healing. They are only a place that leaves you more exhausted. I do not wait for you to become strong before I come to you. I wait for you to admit you are weak so that I can be strong in your place. You do not have to play the role of the resilient one because I love you in your truest state, tired, fragile, and sometimes not even knowing where to begin. I want you to lay down the burden of having to prove that you are good enough. For if you insist on keeping the right to condemn yourself, you are closing the very door that leads to restoration, which is my hand. So come near to me with all the things you consider ugly about yourself, missteps in your past, your cracked heart, your anger, your shame, your fear of being judged. I am not unfamiliar with these things. I have seen them long ago and still chose to love you through every stumble. Do not hide yourself any longer behind words of self-condemnation. Let me wipe clean the way you look at yourself so that you may know you are not the final product of your mistakes. You are a page I am still writing on, not a discarded fragment. And as you begin to recognize your true worth in my hands, you will feel your heart grow lighter and your steps more steady. From there, you will come to understand why I do not want you to merely survive reluctantly. I want you to rise not only to find peace, but to become living proof that restoration is real and is still unfolding in you day by day. Then at some point, when your soul is no longer bound by the voices of the past, you will find yourself called to something greater than mere existence. You will begin to see that life is not just a string of attempts to get through the day, but a journey of being sent to reach others. You will know that what once caused you pain has now become a key that opens a door for those who are lost. And you will understand, quite naturally, that I do not restore you merely so that you can feel better. I restore you so that you may become light, so that through you others may see me. And from that awareness, you will be ready to step into what comes next, living not just to survive, but to carry blessing wherever I place you. There are times when, after too many blows, you only have enough strength to say one thing to me. Just let me have some peace. That's all. I understand that, because I see that you are so tired you no longer dare to dream of anything more. But my child, if you live only to avoid pain, only to get through each day, then you are living far beneath what I have placed inside you. I did not save you just so you could hide in a safe corner, lock your heart away, and fear every risk. I set you free so that you could step out, turning the very scars that once made you ashamed into a story of restoration for others. If you only ask for peace for yourself and forget that I long to use your life to touch other souls, the blessing within you will slowly run dry because it has nowhere to flow. I know that many times you have ranked yourself among the ordinary, only daring to think that it is enough just to get by, asking for nothing more. You look at those who are used and think, I am not that kind of person. And so you retreat into your small safe zone. But my child, I do not choose people by human standards. I do not look for the perfect. I look for those who have been broken, who have thirsted, who know what the depths feel like, so that when I lift them up, they understand the true value of grace. You say you have nothing to give, but I see in you a treasure that has been formed precisely through the seasons you thought were all lost. All I need is for you to dare to place into my hands the little you think you have. I will break it, bless it, and distribute it to far more people than you can imagine. The battles you are facing are not only about money, emotions, or relationships as you think. Behind them is a spiritual clash, because on your life there is a calling that hell is very afraid you will discover. You think you are only trying to survive the day, but in truth, both I and the enemy of your soul know that you were created to do far more than that. Every time you want to give up, there is a whisper telling you that your life is meaningless. That is not me. That is the voice that wants you to forget that you are sent, so that you will accept living like a faint shadow in this world. I did not create you to be a silent extra in the background. I created you so that my light in you, however small it may seem, would be enough to shine for someone who has lost their way. When I lift you up, even just a little, I do not do it so that you can proudly say you have made it. I place you in new positions, new relationships, new opportunities, so that through them people may see my fingerprints on your life. I do not want you to show off what you have achieved. I want you to tell of the one who led you through the days when it seemed there was no hope left. The scars in your heart, the traces of your tears, are not things you must hide. They are evidence that you have walked through the fire without being consumed because of me. When you dare to tell others how weak you once were, I will use that very weakness to comfort those who are standing exactly where you once stood. You do not need to have a perfect sermon. You only need a genuine life, and I will use that as a living testimony. Therefore, my child, do not only ask me for blessings so you can be comfortable, then clutch those blessings to yourself as if you are afraid they will be taken away. Blessing truly grows only when it flows through your life to others. If you cling to it, it will turn into fear of losing it, rather than the joy of giving. I want you to step out of the mindset of just surviving and begin to ask me, Lord, where do you want to use me today? That question will change the way you see each day, from merely counting down time to receiving every day as an opportunity to do small things of eternal value together with me. And when you live like that, you will see that every pain, every delay, every furnace you once blamed me for was never wasted. All of it has been gathered and woven into a story that only you carry, so that every time you share it, those who listen will recognize this is not luck. This is the hand of God upon a life that dared to be used by Him. The world keeps pressuring you to keep a calm face, to always appear strong, successful, in control of everything, as if showing even a little weakness means you will be despised and left behind. But I do not look at you that way. I know you on the days when you shine and also on the nights when you sit in a daze staring at an empty wall. On the mornings when you do not want to leave your bed because your heart is so heavy. When others only want to hear stories of victory, I listen even to the sighs you think no one would ever want to hear. When people run out of patience with you, repeating the same sadness over and over, I still quietly sit beside you, looking at you with eyes that do not grow tired. At times you think of yourself as someone who came too late, who missed out, who burned up your youth on relationships, goals, and illusions that now, in hindsight, feel only empty. You feel as if your life is ruined, as if you have wasted the time I gave you. But when I look at you, I do not see only your mistakes and your falls. I see a heart that, though bruised, still beats. A soul that, though it once wanted to let go, is today still here. Still with a bit of courage left to breathe, to exist, to dare to speak with me. The fact that you can still stand after all the times you have fallen is a beauty that surpasses any title, status, or accomplishment the world praises. Trophies, certificates, and compliments will all gather dust. But a person who dares to rise after pain, who dares to return after wandering, in my eyes, that is a spiritual victory far greater than a flawless life that has never made a mistake. You are still here. You still call me Lord. You still dare to call yourself my child, even though you have often felt ashamed of your own wounds. And that pleases me far more than you think. I do not want you to use all that you have not yet done as grounds to condemn yourself day after day, like a harsh judge constantly demanding that you be the most perfect version of yourself. You do not need to stand before me as if standing in a courtroom, defending yourself and proving that you deserve another chance. I already know everything. I am not holding a comparison chart in my hand, measuring how many years you are late, how many steps behind, how many opportunities you have lost. You are you, not a copy of anyone else. And the journey I am writing for you does not duplicate anyone's path. Every child I create has a unique rhythm. And if you keep forcing yourself to run at someone else's pace, you will collapse before you ever reach what I truly intend for you. I understand why you keep comparing yourself to others, because you are afraid of being forgotten, afraid that if you are not as good as they are, you will be left behind. But in my kingdom, no child is surplus. No one is left over. No one is too late and therefore has no share. Those thoughts do not come from me, but from the fear in your heart, from the voice of the world that keeps demanding you prove your worth by results, by speed, by position. I do not see you that way. I see you with the eyes of a father who has watched every step you have taken from childhood until now. Who knows every season you have smiled, every season you have wept, every time you have tried so hard that even you did not notice how much you had already given. Every promise I have placed over your life has its appointed time. Just like the seasons of the trees, some seeds sprout quickly, some slowly, some break through the soil after only a few days. But there are also seeds that must remain hidden for a very long time in the dark earth before they rise into a sturdy tree. You often only like what is instant, miracles that happen quickly, doors that fly open so that you do not have to wait, do not have to feel uncertain, do not have to face the question, why have I not received yet? But I do not work according to your impatience. I work according to my wisdom, from which I see the whole picture, when for now you only see a small corner. There are things I deliberately have not yet placed into your hands, not because I can bear to let you live in lack or deprivation, but because I know that if I were to give them to you at a time when your heart is not yet deep enough, your foundations not yet firm enough, your faith not yet rooted, then that very good thing would become a weight that breaks your back. I do not want blessing to turn into chains. I do not want grace to become the very reason that draws you away from me or away from your true self. I would rather slow things down a little in order to dig your foundations deeper, to teach you to trust me in the silence, to train you to stand firm when nothing is yet clear, than to give you something you greatly desire that would in the end ruin your soul. You often think that in these past years you have gotten nothing, that you have missed your youth, killed time in foolish choices, in misdirected relationships, in jobs that led nowhere, and long repetitive days where you saw no progress. You look back and see only a chain of waste for your life, but I see those years as a hidden workshop of refinement that few notice. I have used those seemingly meaningless days to soften you in the places where you were stubborn, to make you more sensitive to the pain of others, to break the deep, secret pride that you would not have recognized if you had succeeded too quickly. I have used the wounds in your relationships to teach you to discern what true love is and what exploitation is, so that next time you can recognize the real value of those who know how to cherish you. I have used the nameless tasks, the years of quiet labor that no one acknowledged, to teach you perseverance, endurance, and doing things for me rather than merely for the praise of people. There is no season in your life that is superfluous. There are only seasons whose meaning you have not yet fully understood, and I do not mock you for not understanding. I wait for the moment when you are calm enough for me to explain each part again, right along the very footprints you once thought were wanderings. Today, even if you feel that you still amount to nothing, I want you to pause and look deeply at this one truth. You are still here. You are still alive, still able to feel, still able to believe, even if you believe with trembling. You do not know how many times you wanted to give up, yet you could never quite let go completely because within you there is still a very small strand that connects you to me. It is precisely this seemingly fragile strand that delights me. It tells me that you have not entirely closed your heart to me, that you still long for something more than a life that merely gets by. Do not despise the fact that you still sit and stay, still read, still listen, still talk with me. That is already the sign of a soul that refuses to let darkness swallow it whole. I do not expect you to become a hero overnight. I simply desire that you give me the chance, day by day, to soften one more small part of your heart. And I want to tell you that you are not the only one who has ever thought it was too late, that there was no hope left. Many whom I dearly love have also gone through long years that felt like a desert, that seemed like my silence, when in reality I was writing the deepest chapters of their story. You often ask yourself, if so, when will it be my turn? When will I clearly see what you have promised? I do not condemn that question, because I understand it is born from all the times you have stood on the sidelines, watching others receive the blessings you too have hoped for. But I want you to know that in the spiritual realm, there is no such thing as your turn being taken by someone else. What I have set apart for you, no one can take. What I have ordained for others, you cannot seize. Each person has a portion that is uniquely theirs, and the time for that portion to be revealed is also uniquely appointed. The fact that you see others cross the finish line before you does not mean I have abandoned you at the starting line. Sometimes I intentionally keep you longer at the beginning so that you can learn what they do not need to learn, because you will need it in places where others will never go. Instead of asking, when will it be my turn? I long for you to begin asking, Lord, what are you teaching me in this season? When your question changes, your impatience will lessen, and you will see that I am not motionless as you imagine. I am busy preparing you yourself and the circumstances around you so that when I bring you into the place I intend, everything will already be in its proper position. You are not forgotten in some corner of the sky, nor have I placed you at the very end of the line and then forgotten to call your name. I remember you. Every tiny detail of your life, the things that others would never bother to notice. There are dreams you think you have buried, but I still hold them in my hands and quietly breathe life into them, waiting for the day when you are brave enough to receive them again without fearing failure. There are words you once spoke to me in tears many years ago, and then, worn out, you stopped mentioning them. But I have never forgotten. I keep them as seeds stored away, waiting for the right season to sow them again into your life. And now, though you do not yet see clearly, things are stirring in the unseen realm. I am stirring up those places you thought had grown cold, awakening the healthy desires you once extinguished because you were afraid of hoping only to be disappointed again. My presence is touching the dry places in you, making you suddenly realize you no longer want to live in a way that is merely getting it over with. No longer willing to accept a life of mere endurance. That is the sign that my spirit is at work. Not to throw you into panic, but to help you know that I am still continuing my work in your life. You may not yet be able to name this change. You only feel a slight restlessness inside when you live exactly as before. A quiet discomfort when you continue to compromise with what you know is not right. A faint longing for something deeper that you cannot put into words. Do not be quick to quench these feelings. They are not meaningless instability. They are my gentle knocking at your door. I'm inviting you to step out of a way of living that only seeks safety, that only wishes to be left in peace, that only asks me, please don't let me hurt anymore, and to step into a way of living that knows how to ask, Lord, how can I belong to you more? How can I let you use my very life to touch someone? I am not demanding that you change the whole world at once. I only want you to begin with the small things I place before you. A sincere word of concern, a compassionate look, an act of forgiveness you once thought yourself incapable of. Every small step you take with me has eternal value, and it is precisely through those small steps that your calling is revealed. I have not kept you alive until today, merely so that you might exist, merely so that you fulfill a few responsibilities and then disappear as if you had never been here. I preserve your life because in your story, there is something I want to use to awaken other hearts. The scars on your soul are not only reminders of pain, they will become evidence that I can uphold a person who seemed to have no chance left. You do not know how many people need to hear that from your own mouth, to see that through your own life. And that is why I'm awakening you, enlarging your heart, softening the places that once were hardened. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not someone I have passed over so that I can attend to other souls who seem more important. You are being prepared for something both gentle and great, to become living proof that I still work, still heal, still make all things new, even in a life the world had written off as having nothing more to say. So do not be quick to belittle yourself, and do not confine yourself to the role of the one who just needs a bit of peace. I call you out of that. I call you to become a bearer of peace, a carrier of hope, a bringer of my light to the places where your feet tread. And as you step into this, you will realize that every delay, every silence, every year that seemed utterly wasted was in fact the path along which I led you the long way around, so that today you can stand in my plan without the fear that once gripped you. Have you ever noticed that right in the middle of days that feel pitch black and utterly hopeless, there is still something very quiet stirring in your heart, like a gentle breath threading its way into your chest, like a fragile beam of light that the human eye cannot see, yet your soul recognizes so clearly? Sometimes you do not know what to call it. You just suddenly feel like crying for no specific reason. You just sense deep within a strange kind of expectancy, as if something greater, purer, truer is slowly drawing near. You think it is only a passing emotion, but I want you to know it is the sign that I am rekindling a new life within you. Not the rushed kind of beginning the world offers, but a quiet yet enduring inception where I do not merely adjust a few external details, but change the way you see yourself, see me, and see this world. You often shrink back thinking you are too ordinary, too small, too full of mistakes, too late for anything that could be called being used by God. But you forget that I have never written any plan based on the standards of the crowd. I do not look at your age to decide whether you are still in time or already too late. I do not use your failures to stamp ruined over your life. I am the one who has always chosen those who were overlooked, who keeps calling the names of those whom no one seems to count, who raises up souls that once condemned themselves. I am a father very different from any face you have ever met. I can take a life that has been labeled a failure and turn it into living proof of how deeply I love and how far my power can go. The weaker you are, the more easily you can become a clear glass through which my light can pass so that others may see. Because then they will no longer be able to say that is your strength. They will only be able to acknowledge surely someone must have intervened. But my child, for you to become that kind of witness, I have had to guard you many more times than you realize. If one day you were to sit down in silence and honestly ask me, Lord, how many times have you protected me without my knowing it? You would probably fall quiet in astonishment. Do you remember the time you were so upset because of a traffic jam? Because some tiny incident completely disrupted the carefully planned schedule of your day, and you concluded it was an unlucky day? Yet if I were to pull back the curtain and show you what lay ahead, you would see that the place where you think you missed your chance was exactly where an accident had just occurred. And if you had arrived on time the way you wanted, you might not be here now sitting and talking with me. Do you remember the phone call you were waiting for? The promise that seemed as solid as stone and then suddenly went silent without a single explanation. You lost sleep over it. You decided you weren't good enough. That's why they failed to show up, why they changed, why they abandoned you. But when I saw that call never come, I saw your future being shielded from a relationship that would slowly erode your dignity and your peace. I know which sweet words would turn into chains. I see in advance which smiles would become blades. I can measure the depth of the wounds you would never be able to foresee. That's why there are messages I do not allow to be sent. Promises I allow to break. Golden opportunities I myself let slip out of your hands even as I hear your sighs. Even as I see you blaming yourself, blaming others, and even blaming me. I take no pleasure in seeing you cry over such things, but I accept letting you hurt a little now to spare you from a pain 1,000 times greater later on. You look at a single door as if it were everything, but I see the entire corridor that stretches out behind it. Some invitations seem so desirable. Some relationships appear so complete. Some projects look as if they will bring you status and a name. Yet hidden inside is the price your soul would have to pay. Sleepless nights, the distortion of your character, the gradual loss of the simplicity in you that I love. I cannot allow you to trade your soul for something flashy and short-lived. That is why there are times I choose a way you least expect. I slam that door shut. I sever the connection you want to keep. I let everything fall into a strange, heavy silence. To you, it looks like loss. To me, it is redemption. You ask why I do not explain immediately. It is because if I told you everything, you would trust me out of fear, not out of love. I want you to learn to trust me even when you are not given all the data, so that your faith is not a bargain, but a true surrender. Everything I do, whether it is making a way or blocking a path, adding or taking away, all flows from the same source, an unchanging, inexhaustible love for you. This love is not the kind that spoils you by giving you whatever you want, nor is it the cold kind that throws you into tests merely to check your loyalty. It is like a father keeping a knife out of the hands of his little child, even when the child cries and demands it, because he knows those tiny hands would wound themselves. It is like a doctor pressing on a wound to remove what does not belong there, causing you greater pain for a moment so that you will not be infected later. There are times I allow you to pass through things that bring you to tears, not because I enjoy seeing you collapse, but because I know only such experiences can awaken in you a new depth, a compassion you did not have before for the pain of others. I do not waste your tears. Each drop is received by me, remembered by me, and used by me to soften your heart so you will not become numb in a world full of hurt. When you begin to recognize this, you will stop seeing every disruption in your day as a bad omen or bad luck, and you will be slower to conclude that I am against you whenever your plans fall apart. Instead, you will learn to ask a different kind of question. Lord, in this situation, what are you protecting me from? What are you teaching me? What are you preparing me for ahead? That question is not the question of a resigned victim, but of someone beginning to step into spiritual maturity where they no longer see themselves as a victim of circumstances, but as one who is being led in every step. When your mind shifts from accusation to seeking meaning, you will sense a deeper peace even before anything on the outside has changed. You will no longer need to hold everything in your own hands because you know that I hold what you cannot see. And then you will understand more deeply a truth you once only heard with your ears. Nothing comes to you without passing through my hands first, and my hands never do anything except out of love for you. Do not think that these quiet protections are merely so you can get through life in peace and nothing more. I do not guard you from one danger just so you can turn your back and continue living as if I were never there. I preserve you because you are part of a larger plan that I am unfolding on the earth. Every time I pull you back from some pit, I am not thinking only of you. I am also thinking of the people you will one day meet, those who stand at the very edge you once stood on. I want that when you look at them, you will not only see their problems, but also recognize your own reflection from years past, so that you can offer them not just advice, but testimony. I have been there, and this is how the Lord brought me out. That is why I do not erase every trace of the battles you have fought. I only draw out the poison, leaving the wisdom so you can become a support for others. The blessing I pour into you is not meant to be a stagnant pond, but a living stream flowing through you to water other dry and thirsty places. When you realize that you are saved, preserved, and protected, not just so you can be safe, but so you can be sent, you will begin to live with a different posture. You will ask less often, when will I receive more? And more often, today, what can I give to someone from what I have already received? You will fear loss less because you will recognize that the one who has kept you from countless dangers, who has broken traps you never even saw, is surely able to provide everything you truly need as you live for his purposes. You will no longer live like someone who only hopes to escape disaster, but like a person who knows they are in the army of a good king, a king who does not push you alone onto the battlefield, but also does not leave you forever hiding in a shelter out of fear. I want you to step out fully aware that every step, every word, every choice you make can be a channel through which I touch someone. And once you begin to live like that, the traffic jams, the unanswered messages, the calls that never come, the plans that remain unfinished will no longer be unhealed wounds, but signs that remind you my love always goes ahead of you, even when you don't see it. My child, everything I have done, I am doing and will do in your life. Both the things that made you rejoice and the things that once made you weep in confusion all weave together into one single story. The story of a God who does not abandon, does not make mistakes, does not arrive late, and never does anything except what is good for those who belong to him. If today you still feel deep in your heart even the faintest warmth, the gentlest desire that I wish my life could be used for something more than just existing, then I want you to know I am the one who placed that desire within you. I am calling you out of a way of living that merely survives into the life of someone who is sent. Not in your own strength, but in mine. The one who has so many times kept you from things you never saw, just so you could stand here alive, breathing, ready to answer, Lord, here I am. Please use me. You keep running to me with a long list of questions, all the whys and whens and how long, as if the value of our relationship were measured only by how quickly and how clearly I answer you, and by whether my answer matches your expectations. But my child, if I merely responded to each question and then turned away, I would be no different from a cold machine executing requests. You are far more precious to me than that. I will not simply throw a few solutions into your life to fix temporary confusion. I have come to dwell with you, to make myself the deepest answer to the empty spaces no explanation could ever fill. There are moments when you lie there, eyes open in the dark, heart weighed down and lips unable to form a single prayer. You think you are silent, but I hear every cry rising wordlessly from your chest. I sit there, not loud, not showy, simply gently present, touching the places in your soul that you believed had turned to stone. The locked rooms you sealed years ago for fear that if you ever touch them, everything would shatter. It is precisely in that quiet presence that I am working far more than you imagine. You think you have to shout until the sky changes color before I am moved. But even a weary sigh breathed in my direction makes heaven tremble, because my love for you has never cooled, even though you have let go, doubted, and accused me. I see the tears you wipe quickly away with your sleeve, and I do not tell you to stop crying just to get it over with. I do not say be strong the way people often do. I simply whisper, you may cry in my arms, but do not let your tears lead you to the wrong conclusion about me. For while you think you are collapsing all alone, I am holding your heart, gathering each broken piece you are sure no one cares about. Every word you say to me, however clumsy, repetitive, or weary, is never thrown into the void. I keep them. I weave them into the plan I am quietly unfolding over your life. And not for a single second do I turn my face away from what you are carrying. You still imagine that prayer is you knocking on a door while I stand inside deliberating whether or not to open it. But in truth, each time you merely think of me, I am already at your side, my hand on the latch, simply waiting for your permission to step in. I've never been a distant deity who listens only when you present your requests in the right format. I am Father, and I long for conversation with you far more than I long to just resolve your crises. I know you keep tally of which prayers have been answered and which have not. And then you use that scale to measure my heart, forgetting that the most precious thing I can give you is not a string of results lined up with the plan you wrote, but myself, the unchanging one who can be with you in every season, whether in gentle rain or violent storm, whether you are full of strength or unable to take another step. I am your portion that no one can steal from you, even if you lose everything you thought was essential. You are used to coming to me like someone approaching a service counter, submitting a request, and impatiently waiting for a receipt. But I want you to learn to come like a child walking into their father's house, to sit down, open your heart, speak, listen, be still, and remain longer than just a few hurried minutes. Only in that lingering time can I water the dry places in you with my very word, with living truth, not to fill your head with information, but to give your soul something solid to cling to rest on, to be restored by. You have grown accustomed to living by emotions that rise and fall like waves. Today you believe because you see something. Tomorrow you sink when you see nothing. So, I am gently drawing your eyes away from the froth and foam of circumstances toward the deep, quiet current of my word. There, the source of life flows continually, untouched by the changing weather of your life. When you are willing to spend time with me, to read, to ponder, to converse with every word I speak, and to place your own honest questions within them, you will find yourself like one who has discovered an underground spring, quiet yet enduring, unseen yet nourishing an entire field. I do not promise that you will be spared from every fierce wind, but I want you to know that if you choose to root yourself deeply in what I say, in who I am, and in my heart for you, then when storms come, you may sway, but not be uprooted, ache, but not break, grow weary, but never be swept away. What holds you is not your own strength, but the unseen yet unbreakable cord that binds you to me. You have often run to seek fleeting encouragement from one person or another, from words that sound sweet, but soon fade away, and I do not condemn you for that. For I know you need people, yet I do not want you to stop at such fragile supports. I long to be the foundation upon which every relationship, every dream, every plan of yours is built, so that when one brick falls, the whole house will not collapse upon you, for the foundation is me, not anything else. When you live continually with the thought of just one more day to get through, you will only gather for yourself, hoping the waves won't strike too hard against your own life, and in doing so the blessing within you grows stagnant, like a pond without an outlet, whose waters slowly turn murky. But when you begin to dwell with me, to understand me, to drink from my source, you will see that you are called to become a small channel, carrying living water from within you to other dry places. Then blessing will no longer be something you clutch in fear of losing, but a current that grows clearer the more it flows, richer the more it gives. I see within you capacities you have not yet dared to believe in the experiences you've walked through. The pains you have held, all these, when immersed in my presence and my word, become the precious substance that allows you to embrace another who is weeping in the same place where you once fell. You will not comfort them with empty phrases because you know how real that pain feels. And in that moment when you reach out your hand to them, I am there speaking through your words, shining through your eyes, and using the scars that have healed in you to whisper to them that I am near to them too. You may think you are not mature enough, not wise enough to support anyone, but never forget it is I who do the work. You are only the vessel, the lamp. Your task is not to create your own light, but to keep the oil, keep the flame, keep the connection with the source. Each time you return to me, allowing me to touch the parts you wish to hide, letting my words soak into your worn-out thoughts and distorted ideas about me and about yourself, you give me the chance to reshape your understanding of worth, success, survival, and fullness of life. I did not place you on this earth merely to avoid pain and quietly disappear. I placed you there so that amid unpredictable storms and sunlight, you would stand as a small but clear sign that I am real, that I still act, still save, still transform, still walk beside my own. I want you to know that every moment I spend with you, speaking, comforting, correcting, is never wasted grace. For from those quiet encounters you will rise with new eyes, new steps, and a new heart. Those around you will sense something hard to name, yet unmistakably real and magnetic. It is my fragrance upon you. Not outer brilliance, but a deep peace, a strange patience, a gentleness amid tension, a steadfastness amid uncertainty. All these fruits I grow in you are not for you to admire yourself, but so you might become shade for someone weary and thirsty. My child, I am inviting you to step out of the kind of life that keeps asking, Lord, when will I finally be at peace? And begin whispering instead, Lord, I want to know you more. I want to understand what you are doing in me so I can be a blessing to someone else. When you shift your question like that, the whole center of your life begins to change. You will no longer see me as a machine that meets your needs, but as a father patiently training you, both tender and firm, comforting and instructing. And from that place of intimacy, day by day, quietly, I will transform one who once only knew how to survive into one who knows how to bring life. Not by their own strength, but by the flow of life I have placed within and through them, reaching even the places they never imagined. Now I invite you to pause and lay down the noise around you for a moment. Whether you sit in a small crowded room, on a packed bus, or in a corner cafe where no one knows your name, I still call you to one simple act. Close your eyes. Not to escape reality, but to give me a small open space amid the chaos of your thoughts. You do not need to strain to feel anything or imagine something lofty. Just breathe slowly, release your grip, and let your soul grow quiet. In that very moment, I am already there. Not in some distant heaven, but right beside you, like the quiet embrace of a father covering his exhausted child who has no words left to speak. What you thought was an empty void within is the very place I have chosen to enter. If only you will open it to me. As your heart settles, you will begin to sense a gentle warmth seeping into places you thought had long grown cold. It is not loud, not dazzling like fireworks, but like a soft stream flowing through the desert of your soul. I do not come to make you tremble in fear, but to lift the heavy stones you have grown used to carrying. My love is not a theory for you to memorize. It is a living presence surrounding you, touching the places no one else has reached, not even you. There are depths of loneliness you've never dared to speak of, yet I have chosen to dwell right there. And as I do, you will gradually sense something shifting inside. Not that all darkness vanishes at once, but that a single beam of light shows you you are no longer sitting alone in the night. You will not leave this moment the same as when you entered it. I do not promise that every problem will disappear after a few minutes with eyes closed, but I promise to touch the places you have avoided for years. Sometimes a single moment of letting me come close loosens the chains that have long bound your heart. The rigidity within you that whispers saying, nothing ever changes, begins to crack. And into those small cracks I plant a tender seed called hope. Fragile as it may seem, it holds power enough to push back the thoughts that try to drag you into old numbness. You may not yet see it clearly, but deep within, a quiet turning has begun. Your soul is turning back toward me. Even if you do not yet have words for it, you think your faith has left you long ago. But truly, it is only curled up to rest after storms too strong. Today, as you sit still before me, that flame is being rekindled not by grand displays, but by a soft whisper within. I am still here. I have not stopped working. That voice does not shout or demand. It moves like a thin breeze stirring the heavy curtain around your heart. You may not understand how, but among your usual flood of weary thoughts, a small question flickers. What if there's still hope for me? In that very question, faith is lighting its first sparks again. It does not deny the wounds you have suffered, but it gently tells you that those wounds are not the final chapter. Perhaps these days you felt a strange restlessness you can't explain. Outwardly, everything seems the same job, the same room, the same faces. Yet inside, you feel as though something is about to happen, as if you're standing on the threshold of something new you cannot name. You think it's mere anxiety or oversensitivity, but I want you to know that often this restlessness is the bell of my spirit ringing within you. I am stirring you from the slumber of just getting by to tell you, no, your story with me is not finished here. This is not the end. This is a transition. If you would pause and ask, Lord, are you calling me? You would begin to see that you are no longer a bystander to your own story. My timing is not like the calendar you hold. You measure years by wrinkles, by lost chances, by the feeling of lagging behind others. But I read time by what has been formed inside your soul. The years you thought were wasted were the very seasons I used to soften hardened places, to humble your pride, to peel away the layers you used to hide your fear. The nights you thought were only full of useless tears, I gathered every drop like rain, watering the deep field within you. When the storms have passed, those tears will become the roots that anchor your faith deep into the soil so that when new winds rise, you will not be uprooted as easily as before. You often think my silence is a harsh test, a trial of endurance. In truth, I'm teaching you a new language, the language of trust without immediate proof. When I do not respond the way you expect, you learn to sit with yourself, to face the questions you once drowned out with noise. You begin to see what you have placed your hope in more than in me. The standards by which you have measured your worth, my silence exposes the false supports you've leaned on, so that when they crumble, you can return freely to the only foundation that never shakes. This is not cruelty. It is healing at its deepest level. I know there is still a voice inside you that whispers, "It's too late for me. My youth is gone. My chances are lost. My strength is fading." It's easy to believe your only task now is to endure until the end. But my child, I have never been bound by age, circumstance, or the record of your past. I once called a man when his hair had turned gray, when he had resigned himself to small expectations. And from him I raised a nation beyond counting. I once sought another who had fled from his past and lived quietly in the wilderness to forget his old dreams. And into his hands I placed a mission that changed history. These stories are not ancient legends. They are my reminders that I do not only work with those who start early. I delight in beginning again with those who think they are finished. You are not in the wrong place. You have not wandered so far off the path that you cannot come back. Even in the darkest bends of the road, I am still weaving every detail in preparation for what lies ahead. You, as you are now with all your scars, the costly lessons, the painful falls, are exactly the person most suited for the next part of the journey I am unfolding. Not the version scrubbed clean of every trace, not the perfect image you try to perform, but you as you are in this very moment are the material I desire to work with. I have placed you here in this time, in these circumstances, not because I ran out of options and had to settle for you. On the contrary, I know well that what is coming will require a heart that is soft, humble, willing to listen, willing to yield. And that is precisely what the years of waiting, of silence, of tears have been shaping within you. No stretch of your life is superfluous in my eyes. The seasons when you felt yourself going in circles with no way out, the relationships that shattered, the unfinished projects, the prayers that seemed to vanish into empty space, all of it has become material in my hands. I do not waste even your mistakes. I turn them into experience so that later you will know how to support others who stumble in similar places. I do not waste the nights when you collapsed over your desk from sheer stress. I use them to deepen your understanding of the weariness in the person beside you. I do not waste the times when you thought you had ruined everything. I make them the foundation on which you learn about grace. In my hands, no shard of your life is reduced to mere rubbish. Your voice today may still tremble. But the time will come when it resounds more powerfully than you imagine. Not because you have amassed much knowledge, but because you have lived what you will speak. You will not talk about comfort as a dry theory. You will recount the nights when I myself lifted you up. You will not talk about faithfulness as a slogan. You will recall the days when you thought I had abandoned you, and then suddenly realized I had never left. And when you open your mouth to share, hearts standing on the brink of despair will receive a new hope. They will see that if I could do this with you, I can do it with them as well. Your testimony then will be like a key unlocking the invisible chains in the hearts of those who listen. You are not merely someone who has suffered. You are the pathway I want to use to carry my grace into places where you yourself once longed for someone to come to you. You are a flowing stream, not a stagnant pond. The blessing that flows through you to others will in turn refresh you. You are a bridge linking those who feel excluded to the love they never thought they could have. You are an instrument in my hand, sometimes tightened, sometimes having loose strings removed, sometimes enduring jarring off-key sounds so that afterward you can produce a truer tone. Every note in the song of your life, whether low or high, I know how to weave into a composition that only you can play. What now looks in your eyes like chaos, confusion, and fog ahead will, in time, be arranged by me into a path clearer than you expect. I do not promise that you will see the whole picture by tomorrow, but I will give you enough light for each step as you learn to live not merely for your own safety and comfort, but to join me in a larger story. You will find the meaning of each day lifted to a higher level. Fear will no longer occupy all the space in your thoughts because it will have to yield to a new awareness. Your life has a reason to exist, and I am the one who has been, is now, and will continue using everything, even what you do not understand, to complete what I began in you. From that place, you will have the courage to open your eyes, not to return to old ways of living, but to walk as someone who knows you are in the hands of the one who never abandons you and never comes too late. My child, I see clearly how tangled your heart is right now, with worries smoldering day after day, and negative thoughts like a shadow always chasing behind you, making every step feel heavy and even breathing feel exhausting. Yet in the very moment when you think you are carrying everything alone, I am quietly doing this one thing little by little. I am loosening the invisible cords that bind your mind. I am touching the deep places in your heart that you have long avoided, for fear that contact would only add to the pain. I do not come to reproach you for being weak. I come to gently draw out of your heart the seeds of fear that have taken root for so long, the old voices that told you that you are inferior and unworthy of love. When I touch the memories you locked away, it is not to make you relive the pain and blame yourself, but so that I can wipe away the thick dust covering the little heart that I loved long before you knew how to call my name. You have grown so used to living under a heavy weight that you have come to think it is normal. But I say to you, I did not design you to live forever in such a state of weariness. You were created to breathe deeply, to walk steadily, to face life with a heart that no longer trembles in fear of being hurt again. I am gradually replacing the negative whispers inside you with my words. Words that tell you that you are not a burden, not a mistake, but a child I cherish, protect, and hold dear. I see every time you try to appear strong, while inside you only want to give up. And it is into that very place that I am pouring my peace, not the kind of peace that makes you avoid reality, but the peace that enables you to stand firm in the midst of what has not yet changed. You were not born to spend your whole life bent under the weight of other people's opinions, dodging their gaze because you are ashamed of what you have gone through. I made you so that you can lift your head even with eyes that have often been filled with tears, and dare to believe that your worth does not rest on praise or criticism, but on the fact that you belong to me. Though there have been those who called you names that wounded you, though there are words like blades still echoing somewhere in your memory, the final word over your life is still my voice, not the voice of anyone who has ever hurt you. You may have heard far too many times that you are nobody, that you can do nothing, that your future is nothing but a blur. But I do not agree with those words at all. I know how many dark days you have survived that no one else knows about. I know how many times you swallowed your tears just to keep going. And because I know all of this so well, I say to you even more firmly, this will not end with you living in fear forever. This is not a full stop, but a transition, a turning point where I use my hand to change the direction of your life story. You have believed that you would remain stuck forever in a hazy season, not knowing how to move forward. But I tell you, you will come out of this season, not by gritting your teeth in your own strength, but by being upheld by mine. You will look back on this stretch of road and be amazed to see that in places that seemed to be nothing but stones and gravel, I had laid lessons, encounters, and moments of comfort that you did not even realize I was using to build you. Every valley you pass through has its purpose. Not one of your steps falls into meaningless emptiness as long as your hand is still placed in mine. Even now, as you open your heart to listen, chains you cannot see with your eyes are being broken. Old patterns of thought that constantly drag you back into inferiority and self-condemnation are being touched and loosened by me. There are obsessions you thought you would carry for life, yet I am patiently untying each knot, even if you do not yet feel it clearly. I am not in a hurry, but I am not still either. My spirit is at work in you, careful and persistent, like a healer who patiently tends even to the smallest wound, overlooking nothing, despising nothing. You think you can hardly escape the inner prisons where you have locked yourself in shame, in guilt, in suspicion of everyone? But I am opening the doors of those rooms one by one. I do not use force. I do not shove you out of your hiding place. I take your hand and walk with you into the light so that you can relearn how to trust, not in a single day, but through each small step, each conversation, each time you dare to be honest with me about what you are afraid of. I know you have been deceived by those you thought were your support, stabbed in the back by people who once promised to stay by your side, and so you built a strong wall around yourself, unwilling to let anyone come near. I do not blame you for being guarded. I understand why you had to build walls in order to survive, but I have not come to break you. I have come to dismantle those walls so that, while you remain protected by me, your heart will no longer be locked in loneliness. I do not demand that you immediately trust everyone again. I only invite you to begin by trusting me, and from there, I will teach you whom to trust, whom to set down, whom I am using to lift you up, and whom you must learn to release. You are not defined by the wounds others have inflicted on you, nor are you limited by the stumbling you brought upon yourself. Your true definition lies in my gaze when I look at you. I do not see you as a suspended sentence hanging over your head. I see you as a work in progress. In my eyes, you are not a burden, not an error, not a defective product of life, but someone I have called by name, someone I have sought out, someone I lift up each time you think you have hit bottom. Many times I have intervened so that you would not rush headlong into dangerous dead ends. I have closed more than a few doors that looked appealing, but concealed depths you could not foresee. I have taken away relationships that seemed like blessings, but were in fact traps. Many times you have complained that things did not go your way, but if you could see the whole picture as I do, you would understand that those moments of loss were precisely the times I was keeping you from a far greater loss. If today you can still sit here, still listen, still breathe, still have the chance to begin again, it is not because you are vaguely lucky, but because I have laid my hand over your life far more than you realize. If one day you could see clearly all the situations where I quietly intervened, the blessings I placed in the very places you only saw as empty, you would no longer have time left to complain. You would find your heart overflowing with gratitude. Not the outward kind of gratitude that just sounds nice, but the gratitude that rises naturally when you realize how many times you thought you had collapsed and yet you are still standing today. I do not demand that you instantly become a completely different person, but I invite you to take small steps of trust, to step out of the thought you don't love me, to step out of the sentence, my life will only ever come this far, to step out of the labels you have heard from others and replace them with the words I speak over you. Each day you choose to trust my words a little more, just a little more, is a day when the weight on your shoulders grows lighter and the blessing within you begins to flow instead of stagnating. I do not only want you to be able to breathe, I want you to truly live with the awareness that you are loved, kept, and sent. that everything you have gone through, both joy and sorrow, can become precious material that I use to uphold those who suffer as you have. When you grasp this, you will no longer see your life only through the lens of a victim, but will begin to recognize that you have been, are being, and will be turned by me into a witness to a love that does not abandon, does not turn its back, does not grow tired of repeated wounds. And on that journey, I will still be here, continuing to set you free, continuing to uproot fear, continuing to pour out peace until you can smile and say, "Thank you, Lord, that even the things I never understood, you have used to save me and make me new." I say to you, things are not ending here. What you see now is only the opening margin of the story I am writing over your life. There are many dreams you once folded away, many prayers you thought had fallen to the ground with no one to pick them up, many plans you buried deep because you believed it would never be your turn. You see them as things that have vanished, but I have stored them in a safe place, waiting for the right moment. I do not throw away what I sown in your heart and then stand by watching. I delay only because I know that if these things came too soon, they would break you rather than grow you. Now that your heart has changed, now that your eyes have learned to look back to me instead of being fixed only on your circumstances, I am beginning to loosen the knots I previously chose to keep tight. You will be amazed that doors which had been shut coldly for many years suddenly open softly, as if there had never been a lock, that paths you thought were permanently blocked become clear and wide, as though they had been kept reserved for you all this time. People who once treated you as invisible, who forgot your presence in the room, will one day suddenly call you by name, seek your input, and honor your contribution as though you had never been left on the margins. In the areas where you have long lived in lack, whether in finances, in relationships, in opportunities, or simply in the small measure of recognition every human heart needs, I will gradually fill them. Not with noise or fanfare, but so clearly that even you must admit no human strength could have arranged it. I will let you experience the shift from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance, not so that you can boast of how capable you are, but so that you may know there is a source flowing through your life, a source that never runs dry. I do not do this because you are perfect, nor because you are more deserving than anyone else. It all begins with my kindness and my faithfulness. I keep my word to myself. I guard the covenant I have made. I go on loving even when you are weary, doubtful, or even wanting to let go. For this very reason, as you begin to step into a new season in which things seem smoother, lighter, more beautiful, I need your heart to understand one core truth. Everything that is poured out over your life is not only so that your life may feel more comfortable, but so that through you others may recognize me. I lift you up not so you can build yourself a little throne and sit there enjoying it, but so that you may become a living signpost pointing toward me, letting those who are lost know that hope still exists. I heal you not so that the story ends with your pain gone, but so that those who are still bleeding may look at your closed scars and believe that they too can be healed. Therefore, when you begin to see good things coming to you, job doors opening, healthy relationships, new steps forward, inexplicable favors, do not let your heart grow careless and forget the nights you once cried alone and called out to me in exhaustion. Do not let the words of praise be given to others while in your own heart there is only the feeling, "I deserve this," as if you had climbed to where you stand now by yourself. Pride does not always appear in loud declarations. It slips in quietly through thoughts like, "Without me, this would never have happened," in the way you look down on others because they have not gone as far as you. And each time you stay silent about me, yet speak so much about yourself. Remember this: what gentleness, gratitude, and humility have patiently built in hard seasons can be destroyed by just a little self-exaltation. I may place you in higher positions, give you more influence, more voice, but at the same time I carefully teach you the lesson of bowing low. For only those who know how to humble themselves before me can stand firm before the temptations that will come with that increase. In the hidden place under my arm, when you choose to obey, though no one sees, to keep your heart pure, though no one praises you, to speak the truth, though it costs you, there the true strength of your soul is unlocked. That strength is not the ability to force others to listen to you, but the ability to stand when the wind changes, the unshaken peace when everything around you shifts, the love that does not die even when you are misunderstood. You are not listening to these words by accident. It is not random that you have come across this message amid all the noise out there. I arranged for you to read, to hear, to pause here, because I know that inside you a new threshold is approaching. This is not just a sentence to make you feel better for a few minutes. This is a word that awakens the deepest part of you, the part you let fall asleep because you were afraid to hope and be disappointed again. I am touching what once burned bright but has been covered by your dust. I am calling back the dreams that are from me which you abandoned in order to live a safe life. When you feel your heart stirred, your eyes sting, or a strange longing rise up, that is not just a passing emotion. It is faith coming back to life, the seed of life in your soul pushing up through the soil of doubt. I do not promise you that from now on everything will be smooth and without hardship. I never make peace with falsehood, but I assure you that from the moment you decide to respond, to trust more, to walk deeper, the trials that come will no longer be like those before. You will no longer fight like someone merely trying to get through the day, but like one who knows they are entrusted, equipped, and sent out with a clear purpose. You will begin to pray differently, not only asking, just get me through this, but asking me to use what you go through to bring hope to others. You will work differently, not just to make a living, but to carry my presence into the places where I have put you. You will love others differently, no longer with a draining, demanding love, but learning to love as I love you, proactively, patiently, ready to forgive. And everything I begin to release over your life, from career doors, family turning points, opportunities to serve, to inner changes in your character, will press you closer to the image I sketched for you, even before you were born. That is why today I speak to you with a serious yet tender voice. Be watchful. Keep your heart soft before me. Cherish even the smallest grace, and do not forget to call my name in both joy and tears. For when you respond in this way, the faith within you will no longer be a fleeting feeling, but a steady flame, giving light to you and to those I will bring into your life in the coming season. And it is from that seemingly torn story that your faith, the faith you thought had completely gone out, that seemed hazy like a distant memory, is quietly being awakened by me again. It is not the fleeting excitement you once had, nor the shallow enthusiasm that flared up and quickly shattered because of a few small events. It is a faith that has gone through fire, been tested in tears, has questioned, doubted, wanted to give up, yet in the end still chose to cling to me when there was nothing else to hold on to. I've seen the nights when you could only whisper a few weak words, and yet it is precisely those seemingly awkward words that became the seed I used to restore life to your soul. You did not realize that while you thought you were merely trying to get through the day, I was quietly tending the roots, loosening the soil, reshaping the deepest parts within you, so that now, when I speak a word, that faith can stand up, rise up, and once again dare to believe against every limit around you. Therefore I tell you, prepare your heart, for what I have promised you has never been erased. It has only been kept by me for the right time, the right season to be poured out, not to harm you, but to mature you. In the days to come, you will not only hear others talk about my grace, you yourself will be the one living in things you once thought were only the stories of someone more spiritual, more gifted, more deserving than you. The requests you once crossed off your prayer list because you thought it was too late, that the time had passed, that they were no longer possible, I will bring back to your heart in a very different way. Not to make you regret, but to show you that I have never forgotten those whispers of long ago. Yet what I am preparing for you will not appear with a noise or spectacle that the world uses to show off. It will come gently like the dawn, without a thunderous explosion, but gradually dispelling the darkness you had grown used to living in. I will begin by changing the way you see yourself, changing the way you speak about your circumstances, changing even the way you define the word hope. You will one day wake up in the morning and realize that it is not because everything on the outside has suddenly become perfect, but because within you there is no longer a barren wasteland. You will notice that the way you speak has changed. You no longer repeat those old lines. I'm just mediocre. I never do anything right. But instead, you begin to confess what I say about you, that you are loved, chosen, and sent, that you are not an accidental leftover of this life, but a part of a plan I have considered down to the smallest detail. The eyes that once could only see everything through the lens of fear and inferiority will be wiped clean by me, so that you can discern more clearly what I am doing in the midst of very ordinary things. A casual conversation, a job that seems to have nothing sacred about it, a person you once thought would never care about the gospel, a small opportunity that suddenly opens up a whole new territory. My Holy Spirit will not come like a strange gust of wind, merely to make you shiver for a few minutes. He will patiently rewrite, little by little, the way you think, react, love, forgive, face your wounds, and face your own self. What once made your legs tremble will become the very place where you learn to stand firm. The memories you once only wanted to erase will be touched and healed by me, then turned into a story that can comfort those who are falling into the very pit you have already crossed. The barrier that once held you back and made you assume, my life can only go this far, I will turn into a marker that proclaims, here is where I intervened. From then on, every time you look back, you will no longer feel ashamed, but grateful that I did not allow you to go on harming yourself. The dark imaginations of a final full stop will slowly dissolve, making room for the awareness that in me, no page of life is meaningless. There are only pages not yet fully written. You will learn to smile again, not the forced smile used to reassure others that I'm fine, but a smile that rises from the deepest place inside you when you realize that your hand is being held, that you are being led, upheld, and entrusted with a portion of the work in my kingdom. You will dare to believe again, but this time not with the kind of belief that tries to trade faith for what you want, but with faith that springs from knowing who I am. No matter how your circumstances may turn, that faith will cause you to look at the very places that once made you weep with a different attitude. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You will begin to ask, Lord, what do you want to teach me through this? And is there someone else for whom you want to use this very story as you step into the new season I'm opening for you? You will clearly notice one thing. The blessing I give does not stop within the small room of your own life. I will draw weary people, broken hearts, souls standing on the edge of despair, closer to your life. Not because you are better than they are, but because you know how to say to them, I have been where you are, and this is how I was brought out. You will find yourself naturally becoming more sensitive to the pain of those around you. What you once easily overlooked will now cause you to stop, listen, intercede, offer a hand, send a message, give a little of your time. I will use precisely the things you once considered stains to become bridges that bring others closer to me. Because no one can touch a human heart more deeply than a heart that has also been cracked and has been healed. In that moment, you will understand the true meaning of being saved. Not merely escaping a situation, but being drawn into the very work I am doing in this world. You will no longer pray only, give me peace, give me enough to live, but will gradually learn to pray words that stretch beyond your own line of sight. Use me according to your will. Let what I have gone through not be wasted, but become a support for someone else. Those prayers will not cause you to lose anything. On the contrary, they open up for you a life with depth, direction, and purpose, no longer drifting aimlessly in a meaningless current. You will enter a season where each new day is no longer just another stretch of road to endure, but a page I am ready to keep writing together with you. I will show you the small doors you once dismissed, an ordinary job that becomes the place where you can live faithfully and reveal a different spirit, an imperfect family that becomes the soil where I let you sow love and forgiveness, a small group of people that becomes the place where I teach you to persevere, walk alongside one another, and lift one another up. You will realize that the most beautiful season is not when you have everything the world applauds, but when you live in your true calling, in the right place, in the rhythm I have set for you, so that blessing can flow through you naturally without strain. And when I restore, I do not patch things up just to gloss over the matter, nor do I only fix the surface so that others looking in think you are good enough. I touch the roots, reset the foundation, realign the direction, and reshape both your desires and your dreams so that you are not merely better than before, but truly renewed. I do not gather the fragments and then force you to glue them back together by your own strength. With my own hands, I form a new shape, a new story, a new current in your life, until there are moments when you will gasp, "Is this really me?" Yes, it is still you, but you is the one I have touched, led, and taught to love, to trust, to live, and to give in a mature way. And believe this, that new thing is not some distant, fanciful idea. It began the very moment you stopped running from me, in the instant you dared to be honest with me about your fears, your pain, and your shame. I have already begun that work. I am doing it now, and I will continue until it is complete. Your part is not to try to manage everything by yourself, but to agree to let me go on shaping you, to take small steps in response to my word, so that one day when you look back, you will exclaim, "If it had not been for the Lord, I could never have become like this." In that moment, not only will you rejoice, but those who have watched your journey will also understand that no life is hopeless in my hands. If that person is willing to let me keep writing, you think your life is still standing in the same place, that the days come and go all alike. But in reality, right in that quiet zone where it seems nothing is happening, something very different has begun to take shape within you. Silent, persistent, without noise and without needing anyone's recognition. Like the root system of a tree deep beneath the ground, unseen by the eye and unheard by the ear, yet quietly stretching downward, going deeper, seeking water and preparing for a season of rising so strong that no wind can uproot it. That is what I am doing in your soul. You may look around and see that your circumstances have not changed much. Still the same familiar faces, the same recurring challenges, the same constant worries, the same unanswered questions. But I can clearly see an important shift. You yourself are no longer the person you were yesterday. The things that once had the power to bring you to your knees no longer rule you as before. The words that once crushed you for an entire week are now only distant echoes that no longer determine your worth. The wounds that once made you afraid to open your heart are slowly becoming scars that remind you that you have passed through and are still here. This is not you being strong by your own willpower. It is the imprint of my spirit quietly working in you, redirecting negative thoughts, soothing sensitive places, rearranging priorities you could never sort out on your own. Wherever my spirit is present, fear no longer has the right to shout as it once did. It can only whisper, and you have learned to recognize it and return to my comforting voice. You are not as weak as you keep telling yourself. You have walked through storms that in the past would have made you give up long ago. You have endured sleepless nights, heavy mornings, days when your heart was exhausted and still chosen to hold on to me, even if only with a very short, very fragile prayer. Lord, please do not leave me. It is precisely those whispered words, those times you kept clinging to me when you had no idea what I was doing, that have moved my heart more than you imagine. I am not moved by eloquent prayers spoken only with the lips and not with the heart. I am moved by the simple, awkward, yet honest cries that burst out from a chest still full of wounds, yet daring to turn toward me while the mind is full of confusion. I treasure the children who do not run away from me when they are in pain, but keep coming back even with trembling steps, hearts full of questions, and tears still wet on their cheeks. You have done this again and again. And though you think it is nothing special, in heaven every tear of yours is remembered. Every sigh is clearly heard by me. Never have I turned my face away when you cried. Not for a moment have I stopped my ears to your lament. It is just that many times I allow silence to answer, instead of rushing my words over a wound still bleeding, because I know there are injuries that must be bandaged slowly by presence rather than explanation. When the whole world is busy with themselves, I become the place where you can lay your head without fear of being judged. When you feel as if you are disappearing in the crowd, unseen, uncared for, I still call your name in my heart like a father remembering the child he loves among countless other faces. There are desires you thought had died out, dreams you once buried deep and swore never to mention again for fear of being hurt once more. I have not thrown them away. I keep them in a place where time cannot reach, waiting for the right moment to place them back into your hands in a form that is more fitting, more mature. You think you have lost everything, but I tell you that there are things I have deliberately put aside in order to protect you from the unripened versions of those very blessings. I do not take away to punish. I set things aside to preserve the best for you until your soul is capable of receiving them without being crushed by their weight. Now, even though your eyes cannot yet see it all, in the unseen realm a new season has already been set in motion. The gears you thought had long stood still are beginning to turn again, smoothly and with purpose. It is not by chance that lately you have felt a very hard to describe stirring in your heart like a call to rise, like a longing to no longer live on standby, like a tiny yet persistent thought whispering, maybe God still has something for me. That is not an illusion. It is the signal I am sending you, the sign that my spirit is once again breathing new life into places you once believed were dead. You are beginning to notice that you no longer react to challenges the way you did before. You do not collapse as quickly as you used to. You are no longer so hasty to blame yourself. You know how to pause and ask me more than you ask others. These changes may seem very small, very quiet, but in my eyes they are an extremely important turning point because they show that the roots of your faith have gone deeper and are no longer as shallow as when you clung only to passing feelings. Every step you take in this season is being realigned by me, even though your outer schedule may not look all that different. The direction within you is no longer the same. You used to be afraid of dreaming because every time you dared to dream, you faced the risk of disappointment. You used to be afraid of opening your heart because every time you trusted, you exposed yourself to more hurt. You used to be afraid of joy, fearing it would be snatched away as soon as it appeared. I understand each of those fears. I have seen you curl in on yourself like someone who has just escaped a hailstorm, only daring to stand pressed against a wall, watching everything from a distance. But my child, the season I am leading you into now is not a season for you to remain on the sidelines anymore. This time, it is I who guide every step, not your emotions, not your impulsiveness, not the enticing yet hollow urgings around you. I will not allow you to go back to the old cycles you are too weary to continue. I am bringing you out of the endless loop of merely existing by opening your eyes to see that you were created for more than that. To love, to give, to become living proof that restoration is real. Every step you take, down to the smallest decision, I am using to tune your heart into harmony with my good purposes. You may not yet see the long road ahead clearly, but you will recognize each next step when it comes, because it will not drag you into panic, but will lead you into peace. It will not push you to prove yourself, but will invite you to trust me more. I do not promise you a journey without pain, but I promise that this time you will not face your pain alone. You will no longer have to guess the way or hold yourself up by your own limited strength. I walk with you, I go before you, I come behind you. I surround you so that what once killed hope within you will become nothing more than a distant memory with no power to hinder your steps anymore. And as you agree to let me keep working within you, you will see that what I say to you is not empty comfort, but living reality wherever I touch. The desert sprouts, ashes turn into beauty, and lament become a new song. The blessings that were once blocked, like a river dammed up by the boulders of hurt and fear, are now, as you allow me to lay my hand on your deepest wounds, slowly being released as those stones are moved away so that the water can flow. And when that flow is opened, you will not only be refreshed yourself, but will become a source of refreshment to those around you who are parched. Because from beginning to end, this has always been my intention, to save you, to heal you, and then to use you yourself as a testimony of my kindness in a world starving for hope, yet not knowing where to find it. My child, there is something I want you to become very still and ponder deeply. If your faith is truly anchored in me, if you do not trust me only when things are going well, but also dare to hold my hand in the middle of the ruins, then there is not a single wound in your life that is wasted. The things that once brought you to your knees, the events that carved out an empty space inside you where no one else could reach, the separations that left you reeling, the dreams that seem to crumble into dust. All of these in my hands never become throwaways. I pick up each shattered piece, wipe away the tears clinging to it, and set it into a new picture that you cannot yet see in full. You see only a thick, gray blur, while I am quietly fitting everything together into something beautiful and enduringly meaningful. I do not delight in your pain, but I do not allow any pain to be meaningless. Every tear you shed is noted by me, not to remind you of how weak you have been, but to prove that there has not been a single moment when you had to struggle alone. You may forget the times you broke down in tears, but I do not. You may think your life has been crushed beyond rebuilding, but I am the one who decides where the ending lies, and I have not placed a final full stop over your story. You are simply standing in a pause longer than you expected, and in that pause I am not dormant. I am working on the foundations, in the deep places no one else can see, so that when you step out, you will not only stand firm for yourself, but will have the strength to lift up others who are trembling the way you are today. You often reproach yourself for having dropped so much time, for letting your youth slip through your fingers, for letting opportunities you believed would never return vanish because of unwise decisions. You look back on those years and call them waste, meaninglessness. If only. But I want you to try renaming them. In my eyes, they are not an empty gap, but the backstage where I have been teaching you things that books, advice, or even success could never reach. I have used the days when you felt directionless to show you what was missing deep within and where you were off course. I have used seasons that seemed full of nothing but darkness to train your eyes to search for the smallest flicker of light. I have let you taste loss and disadvantage in order to remind you that a person's true worth does not lie in winning or losing. You call that a terrible past. I call it soil that has already been plowed and broken up, just waiting for new seeds to be sown. And that is what I am doing. I am sowing again, rebuilding again, rearranging again, with a patience far greater than anything you have ever imagined. You think that all that is left of you is a scorched foundation after a great fire. But I see in that very place the best ground on which to build a new house, because nothing of the old remains to hold you back. You will not stand forever in the ashes. You will step out. And one day you yourself will find it hard to believe that the place where you now stand is where you once thought everything had ended. I know there are times you look up and ask in your heart, why did you not stop those things from happening in the first place, so I would not have had to hurt this much? You ask that because you are looking at everything from where you stand, where you can see only a very short stretch of the road. I do not rebuke you for that. I understand how tired your heart is, but I want you to know that sometimes, if I were to remove immediately everything that causes you pain, you would never truly grasp what you have been rescued from. It is precisely those wounds that slowed you down, that stopped your feet, that kept you from racing headlong into dead ends that only seem to glitter. It is precisely those disappointments that pulled you away from ties that would have bound you until you no longer recognized who you were. I do not create evil or sin, but I know how to turn even the worst things you encounter into a part of your restoration story. What the enemy intended to use to break you, I use to show you in the world that no power can snatch you from my hand when you allow me to hold you. That is not just a way of thinking to make you feel less sad. It is the way I am truly at work. I do not demand that you smile through gritted teeth while still bleeding. I merely invite you to lift your eyes a little, to look further and higher, to see that pain does not last forever, but my love has no end. You often live in quiet anxiety, fearing that you have delayed too long, that you have fallen too far behind, and that what I once promised must have fallen away with the passing years and repeated failures. But my child, I am not like human beings who change their minds because time has gone by, or who tear up the script of your life because you have stumbled. What I began in you, I have both the power and the patience to bring to completion. The years you consider completely lost, I can repay in ways you cannot imagine. I do not simply give you back the old things because many of those were never truly good for your soul. Instead, I give you things that are deeper, truer, more enduring, things that mature you, that soften your heart without breaking it, that teach your faith to cling to me rather than to outcomes. There will come a day when looking back you will whisper, "The waiting was not wasted. Every tear was worth it because through them I learned what is truly real." It is not that pain is beautiful in itself, but that in the midst of pain, you have touched me more clearly than ever before. And that is what fills those seemingly lost years with meaning. That is why I plead with you not to let go of my hand now. I use the word plead not because I am powerless, but because I see clearly what lies ahead if you will just hold on a little longer. You think you are merely dragging yourself through the last few steps of a pointless journey, but in my eyes, you are very close to an important turning point. Just one more step, even a slow step, a step taken through tears, a step taken in fear, is enough to open up a different sky. You do not need to leap. You only need not to turn your back. Every time you choose to move forward, however gently, I hasten toward you. You see yourself inching forward bit by bit, while I am shortening the distance between us with great urgency. Every turning back toward me, every whisper of my name, every time you admit, "I am so weak. I almost want to give up," yet still do not cut the cord that ties you to me. All of these are rungs on the ladder, lifting you out of the abyss you once thought you could never climb. You do not realize that I have prepared for you a place of belonging, a reward that no power, no authority, no accusation can tear from your hands. That image is not a throne for you to stand above others, but a space of peace where you may sit down, lay your burdens down, and cease from having to pretend that you are fine. I have already set a banquet for your soul in the midst of the noise and chaos, a place where the enemy may stand and watch, but cannot interfere. When you are ready to step into this place and allow me to care for you and heal you, you will understand that every detour, every fall, every long, bitter night has been leading you back here. It is not because I take pleasure in seeing you collapse, but because only here can you truly see how deep and wide my heart for you really is. Then you will begin to see more clearly what you once called punishment was, in fact, a wall of protection, shielding you from things that, if I had allowed them to happen, would have caused you to lose yourself. What you once mistook for being abandoned was actually the distance I kept from the things that were slowly draining the life from your soul. What you once saw as the final full stop was actually the moment I opened a new chapter with pages no longer stained by old definitions, where you are no longer named by your failures, but by the love I pour into your life each day. I have a covenant with you, not a thoughtless phrase I threw out to smooth things over, but an eternal decision that has been sealed with my very life. Unlike people who speak easily today and forget tomorrow, I am not driven by passing moods. I do not love you more on the days you do well and less on the days you are weak. My love for you is not built on a scoreboard of achievements, and it does not collapse because of the times you fail. I love you because you are mine, because I saw you long before you ever became aware of my presence. When you stumble, I see the pain in you, not someone who deserves to be discarded. When you turn your face away, I wait for you to come home. I do not slam the door shut. When you are confused, I patiently explain and comfort you. I do not leave you alone in your turmoil. You may find it hard to accept such a love because all your life you have been used to affections that come with conditions. But I am here to let you know that there is another kind of love, unlike anything you have ever experienced before. A love that does not promise and then forget, does not give and then take back, does not push you away just because you are not good enough yet. So let what you have been through become more than just a source of pain. Let it become evidence that I have walked with you all the way down to the deepest place. When you tell your story to others, do not only talk about your suffering, tell them about me, the one who sat with you in that suffering. When you look at your old scars, do not only remember your mistakes, remember the hand that bandaged you and lifted you up when you had no strength left. Every loss, every halt, every delay can become the opening lines of an entirely new life. A life that is no longer just about surviving the day, but about knowing you are sent to love, to lift, to bear witness. This is how I restore you, not by taking you back to the starting point as though nothing ever happened, but by making you different, deeper, gentler, stronger. And in the midst of all those changes, there is one thing that has not changed and never will, no matter where you stand today. No matter whether you feel worthy or not, I still have only one thing to say to you. I love you. That's all. And I will not take that back. Listen, I know better than anyone all the parts of your life you wish you could erase. The decisions that make your heart clench with shame every time you remember them. The times you deliberately turned your back on me. The moments you were so offended or hurt that you let harsh accusations spill out of your mouth. Words you yourself do not dare repeat now. I was there. I witnessed it all without turning my face away. You think each impulsive choice, each fall into darkness, has discouraged me. But my child, my love for you is not so fragile that it breaks under a few dark chapters. I do not withdraw my gaze just because you have stumbled. I do not pull my hand back just because you no longer look good enough in your own eyes. My heart does not sway with the ups and downs of your emotions. You change. You grow hot and cold. You are inconsistent. But my love remains. Like a quiet anchor, you can return to it any time. Even in the most tangled state of your soul, you often imagine me as the one who only records your mistakes and will one day settle the score. So whenever you do something against your conscience, you rush to hide, to go silent, to cut off prayer because you are afraid of hearing my voice. Yet you do not know that I do not sit on high, just waiting for you to fail so I can punish you. I am the one full of compassion, the one who bends down to pick up every broken piece you have dropped, even the pieces you hate so much you want to bury them deep. I do not step on them in contempt. I gather them up, gently wipe away the dust, and begin to fit them into a new shape. To you, it is just a pile of useless fragments. But in my hands, it becomes the material for a story no one else has. You see yourself as ruined. I see a work of art still in progress. I'm not afraid to step back, to adjust, to start again from the beginning if needed, so long as in the end you are able to stand firm in my love. There are chapters you wish you could erase, stretches of memory you want to lock away and pretend never existed. You wish you had not trusted the wrong people, had not chosen the wrong path, had not traded your heart so cheaply. But my child, those dark chapters, when they are touched by me, will become the pages you later read with the deepest gratitude. I do not whitewash your mistakes. I do not deny the consequences. But I can cause even the chapters you are most ashamed of to become the backdrop that makes my grace shine more brightly. I do not love the wrong things you have done, but I have never abandoned the work of art that bears your name because of them. You are mistaken when you think the story has ended, just because you have gone through a stretch of tragedy. In reality, the book of your life is still being written, and I am still the unchanging author, writing every line, every sentence, every chapter with a loving intention you cannot yet fully see. Many nights you sit alone and look back over the road you have traveled and whisper to yourself, I've wrecked everything. I've ruined it all. There's nothing left to fix. You speak as if you had the right to decide the ending, while I am the one who sees the entire picture from beginning to end. You are simply standing in the middle of a crooked, twisting path and hastily declaring there is no way out. But if you would lift your head, you would see that I am still waiting for you ahead at intersections your eyes cannot yet see. You think that when you do wrong, every good thing I ever promised you is crossed out. But I am not human that I should change my mind just because you slipped. I'm not easily discouraged like people are. I knew every misstep of yours in advance and still chose to write promises into your story precisely because I knew there would come a day when you would need somewhere to come home to, something solid to hold on to so you would not be utterly destroyed. You are exhausted from having to carry all that guilt. You cling to each painful memory as a punishment you impose on yourself. You think that if you keep blaming yourself long enough, you will somehow be more deserving of forgiveness. But my child, that is not how I work. I do not need you to pay by hating yourself in order to prove that you repent. I need you to believe that my love is big enough to enter the very places you think no one would dare touch. I want you to loosen your grip on that burden, not so you can live irresponsibly, but so that you can give me the place I deserve in your heart, the place of the healer, not the place of an accusing voice. It is obvious you cannot bear to keep living while dragging along that heavy shadow of the past. So why will you not let me cut the rope that is tightening around your neck? Why do you cling to it as if that were all you deserve? I want you to pause for a moment and take a deep breath. Not as a mere gesture, but as a reminder that you are still alive, that you still have a chance to turn and look at me. I am here, not as far as you imagine, only a single turning of your heart away, only a single honest word, only a single breath where you dare to let go of all your striving. When you breathe deeply, you release some of the words of self-condemnation. When you lay the burden down, you finally have space to receive the peace I have long prepared for you. That peace is not the feeling that everything is perfect, but the steadiness of heart in the midst of unfinished things, because you know I am the one in control. Not your past mistakes or your future fears. Let me be the one who rearranges the chaos inside you. Let me be the one who wipes clean the hidden corners you do not dare face. I do not come to pull out your file of sins and review it. I come to close that file with the seal of mercy. I do not deny what has happened, but I cleanse your heart with a love that does not keep score. I wash away the dust that has settled on your soul for so long, not so you can pretend you have never failed, but so you can stand up without trembling under shame. I want you to see clearly how weak you have been, so that you may understand more deeply how strong I am. You do not need to hide or beautify or deny what is past. You only need to place it in my hands and leave the rest for me to deal with in my way. You often worry that everything that once belonged to you has been lost, that the opportunities that slipped away will never return, that what you have ruined can never be restored. But my child, the things I have destined to be part of your life cannot be stolen by any power, not even by your own weakness. There are things I allow you to lose because they were never truly yours. But what is truly your portion in my purpose, I still hold, still keep, still protect in a place no one can reach. Even when you are not yet mature enough to receive it back, I patiently wait for you to grow, to finish the lessons you need to learn, so that when the right time comes, you will receive and not lose it again. What is yours in me does not fall away. It is only being kept for the proper time. I do not play at punishment by hanging blessings high in front of you just to torment you. I set them into a timetable that all of heaven knows is exact, while you see it only as delay. There will come a day when you look back and realize that there were prayers I did not answer immediately. Not because I did not hear you, but because I was preparing something better for your soul. Better not in the sense of comfort or ease, but in the sense of depth and solidity. I do not give you something merely to make you happy for a moment, only for you to lose yourself afterward. I care more for your soul than for fleeting moments of satisfaction. You want every pain to end quickly, but I want you to emerge from that pain as someone who has learned something about me, about yourself, about the value of grace. You only want the story of your life to be smooth and easy, but I want that story to carry the power to touch others. So I am not in a hurry to close the painful chapter, while it can still bring forth a deeper richness within your heart. When the day comes for the things I have kept for you to be revealed, you will no longer confuse them with luck or coincidence. You will recognize my fingerprints in the way everything fits together, from the people you meet, the doors that open, the turns that once seemed meaningless, but suddenly become perfect connecting points. You will remember the nights when you thought you had lost everything, and as you compare them with what is now unfolding, you will understand that without the chapters you once wished you could erase, you would not be standing where you stand today. In that moment, you will look back to this very moment as you are reading these words, and you will know that it is truly I who am speaking to you, not some random thought passing through your mind. You will remember that right at the point that seemed the worst, I began to write the next beautiful part quietly, gently, yet surely, and that not once throughout that whole process did I ever let go of your hand. Therefore, do not be quick to conclude that you have run out of chances. Do not rush to close your heart just because you do not want to be hurt anymore. I do not promise you that from this day on you will never cry again, but I promise you that not a single tear of yours will be meaningless. I promise that I will use even the most mistaken chapters, the stories you are most afraid others will find out, and turn them into a launching pad for transformation, for comfort, for new hope, not only for you, but also for those who will pass through your life. I waste nothing that you place in my hands, not even the past you hate the most, the failures that shame you the most, the dark corners you thought could never be spoken of. All of it can become material for a glory you cannot yet imagine. As long as you keep coming back, as long as you dare to stretch out your hand, I will continue to write, continue to shape, continue to lift you up until your life truly reflects what I have thought about you from the very beginning. Now be still. Open your whole heart and speak to me the most honest prayers from the depths of your soul. Almighty God, my Father, you who see clearly the deepest places of my heart, today I come before you with all my weariness and turmoil. So many times I have misunderstood your silence. I thought you turned your face away. I thought my prayers fell into a void. I thought I was no longer important enough for you to pay attention to. Please forgive me for all the times I hastily judged your heart based only on my fragile emotions. Please heal the places within me that have been wounded by human abandonment so that I no longer project their faces onto you. Teach me to recognize that even when everything around me is silent, your love is still quietly at work, upholding and guarding me in ways I have not yet understood. Grant me new eyes of faith that I may trust your heart, even when I cannot comprehend your ways. And teach me to remain at rest in your arms instead of struggling in the confusion of my own mind. Good and gracious Father, who holds every season of my life in your hands, I offer to you all my anxieties about time, about age, about the things I believe I have already missed. So often I look around, compare myself with others, and see myself always behind. Then I ask why you let them move so fast while you let me go so slowly. I am sorry for allowing those comparisons to steal my joy and my gratitude. Please help me believe that you are never late, that the years I thought were wasted are in fact being used by you to refine my character, to deepen the roots of my faith, and to soften my heart. Set me free from the obsession with having to measure up to others so that I can walk in peace at the pace you have set uniquely for my life. Teach me to cherish every small step, every quiet change, every hidden progress that only you and I can see. And please help me remember always that I am not late in your plan. I am right on time in the heavenly schedule you wrote for me from the very beginning. Gentle and wise Holy Spirit, I bring before you all the courts I have set up inside my own heart throughout these years. Many times I myself have been the one to accuse me more harshly than anyone else, repeating in my mind words that belittle me, imprisoning myself in the obsession over mistakes I can never go back and fix. I have forgotten that I am only clay and that God is the potter who is patiently reshaping my life. Holy Spirit, please come and soothe the wounded places I still hide. Teach me to lay down my supposed right to condemn myself and to learn how to entrust to you the right to heal me and to form me according to your will. Help me believe that I am not a defective product, but a work of art still in process. That what has been broken is not meant to be thrown away, but to be rejoined in a form more beautiful and more secure. Grant me enough humility to step out of the role of the strong one, to acknowledge my weakness and ask for your intervention, so that from now on the loudest voice in my heart will no longer be the accusations of the past, but the loving whisper of God who is shaping me every day. Beloved Father, I thank you because you have helped me look back on the years I thought were wasted with a new light. I am grateful that you did not rebuke me when I complained that my life was slow, that I had missed out, that I had failed to keep up with others. Thank you for patiently correcting the way I see time, so that I can recognize that you were quietly at work throughout all those days I considered meaningless. I thank you that every tear, every waiting, every delay has been used by you to deepen the roots of my faith, to soften my heart, and to break the pride I did not even know I carried. I thank you that you do not force me to succeed early according to the standards of this world, but allow me to walk at the pace that is safe for my soul. Thank you that every passing season has value, and that today I can be more at peace with what lies behind me, because I know you have never taken your hand off my life. Lord Jesus, I lift up my thanksgiving to you, for you have patiently corrected the image of God that I carried within my heart. Thank you that you do not grow tired of showing me that you came to save, not to condemn, to heal, not to snuff out, to protect, not to crush. Thank you for helping me realize that many things I called unfair were in fact times when you drew me away from the edge of the abyss, and many things I called loss were actually the necessary redirections for my life. I thank you for entering into my pain not with words of rebuke, but with gentle hands that lifted me up instead of pushing me down. Thank you for allowing me to ask questions, to be honest about my anger and my sadness, and yet not abandoning me because of them. I know that without your patient presence, I would have let those misunderstandings pull me even further away from God. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. If this message has changed the way you look at the silent seasons and the delays in your life, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are here to uncover the spiritual truths that have been hidden for too long. Let us grow together in faith and purpose. Your next breakthrough is closer than you think.